What is Allah doing here? He's humiliating the person on the left hand. By the way, let's keep the subtext in mind. Why would someone be humiliated? Why would Allah humiliate someone? Because they were in the business of, fill in the blank, humiliating others. Humiliating others. People that got a kick out of, putting other people's laundry out, using vile words against someone, bringing the worst of their deeds to their attention. Like, Fir'aun was trying to humiliate Musa alayhi salam. Didn't you do what you did? فَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّذِي فَعَلْتَ. You're gonna talk to us? Or the people were humiliating Maryam salamun alayha, right? Or humiliating her. So this idea, every time there's a punishment, you have to keep in mind the punishment reflects the nature of the sin that came before it, right? So these were people, like Allah says in another place in the Quran, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. And humaza, lumaza are qualities of people that speak ill of others and get a kick out of it, basically. They enjoy humiliating others. By the way, this idea of humaza, lumaza in the environment in which we live, where most people aren't even watching social media content, they're reading the humaza, lumaza underneath in the comment section and getting a kick out of it, right? So for those who do enjoy that trolling, and that's their feed, just let me remind you of something. Allah says, وَفِيكُمْ سَمَّعُونَ لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِالظَّالِمِينَ. Among you are those that are just audiences to those vile people. And Allah knows all wrongdoers. And Allah is saying the people that are making those vile comments are wrongdoers, and the people that are just consuming that are also wrongdoers, right? Because that's what they call engagement nowadays, isn't it? They put those comments there because it gets them more engagement and all of that. Anyway, so the punishment has already begun, and it's humiliating in nature. وَهَذَا يُنَبِّهُكَ عَلَى أَنَّ الْعَذَابَ الرُّوحَانِ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْعَذَابِ الْجِسْمَانِ. Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi says, this should make you pay attention that the punishment to the soul is much more intense than the punishment to the body, because the soul wants dignity, right? Now, and doesn't even want to face it himself. Look at the stark contrast. This person gets the book in their left hand. May Allah not make any of us of them. And they're not saying, look at my book. They're not saying, oh my God, what's in here? They're not even opening it. They're just saying, can I not get it? I wish I never got it. They didn't say, I wish I never read it. The other person uses the word reading, remember? اقرأوا كتابية. So they've read it, and they want others to read it. This person, there's no mention of reading. There's just the mention of it being handed to them, and that's a tragedy enough for them. I wish I just never had to touch it. I wish I was never given this book. لم أوتى كتابية. This is a very powerful expression to describe the state of the people of the left hand and how they used to be in this world. So let's take a minute to understand that. Why is this so important that they say, I wish I was never given my book? You've probably heard the expression YOLO. You only live once. And the idea behind that is that this life is all there is. And if this life is all there is, and you are, let's say you hit the age of 40, that means you're about to have your midlife crisis. You've heard that one before? Midlife crisis means you're in the last episode of your youth. After this, you're going to be in some kind of a hospice care, or somebody's going to have to clean your diaper, and you're going to be on a drip or something. You're going to end up, in a nursing home, things like that. So the last couple of decades where you have control over your body has begun. The last episode, because this is all there is. So this becomes an incredibly depressing realization for people. As a result of that, they start behaving in certain interesting ways. They start listening to music from their teenage years. They start buying the car that has no purpose except to show off. They start engaging in, they start drinking more. They start partying more. They start pretending they're 20, right? They'll break the family. They'll go, step out on the marriage, all kinds of stuff. They'll abandon the kids. I'm just going to travel the world. I just need to experience the world. I want to experience life. I want to live my life, etc. All of this is happening because they're not worried about the consequences, the devastation they're going to leave behind. They're not worried about that. You know why? Because by the time the devastation catches up with them, they'll already be dead. This is all I get to have. Let me just have my fun, because you only live once. This is never going to come back. This is all we ever have, right? And so these people created an entire life based on the assumption that everything I'm doing, live in the moment, be yourself, be in the now, enjoy yourself, find your true happiness, connect with your true self, you do you, all this kind of crap that's now being sold to humanity. I just want to do me, I just want to do me. And then do me means I want to do really bad things, but I'm going to glorify that as saying I'm being true to myself. That's because when you're being, the idea of true to myself, let me just take off the pretty wrapping and tell you what that really means. That means I don't want to think about the fact that everything I'm doing is being surveilled, recorded, documented, and I'm answerable to someone. I don't want to think about that. I have no one watching over me. I have no authority over me. To give you an example of, somebody who is an employee and they're in the government building or their employer's building. They're in the building and they're in billable working hours, right? There's some room. They can take a coffee break. They can take a bathroom break, maybe a cigarette break for some people or whatever, right? But there are guidelines when you're in the workplace in working hours. There are certain things you cannot do because you are on the clock. Everybody understands that, right? Now imagine somebody who's on the clock and refuses to accept the fact that they are on the clock. Refuses to accept that fact. Within 10 minutes, if they want to act crazy, there are going to be consequences, right? Now, the idea that I'm trying to project onto all of us is that we are on the clock. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. We're on the clock. And Allah is watching. And there are enough human beings in this world that like to pretend that they have free reign, they can do as they please. There is no accountability for what I'm doing. And this ugly attitude of defying Allah like the greatest entity, please remember this phrase, the greatest entity to which I am answerable is me. The greatest entity to which I am answerable is me. There is nobody else I'm answerable to. In fact, I am so important, and some Muslims are starting to do this, because Christians were doing this before us. We copy pretty well. لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سُنَنَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. The Prophet ﷺ warned us, you'll end up following the ways of those who came before you. What did they do? I'm so important, I'm going to mold the concept of God to fit my needs. My Allah wouldn't judge me. Really, your Allah. Yeah, my Allah doesn't, my Allah is loving and merciful and kind. It's like, you're speaking on Allah's behalf. That's really adorable. But He speaks for Himself. It's called revelation. That's but now I'm going to tell you what my personal relationship with God is, and I dictate the terms of that relationship, because in the end, the highest authority is me, and I even get to curtail what God is to me, what Allah is to me. It's wild. It would make Fir'aun feel humble, right? Fir'aun didn't want to bring God down. Fir'aun wanted to be God. This is a next level up. This is like, no, we can keep God. He just has to serve us. He just has to serve our nafs. It's wild to me that's become the case. But that is a reality that we have to contend with, right? And because if I am the supreme, like the authority, then I also decide reality. Reality doesn't come from somewhere else. Reality comes from me. So what new terminology did we develop? This is my truth. You heard that one? This is my truth. I don't know what your truth is, but this is my truth. And then since it's my truth, and my truth is dictated by how I feel, today I feel like I'm a zebra. Tomorrow I feel like I'm a cat. The next day I feel like I'm a pronoun that hasn't been discovered by anybody yet. Right? All of what you're seeing is a result of something that started. These are just dominoes that are falling. But the first domino to fall in all of this is actually أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Allah commented on this in the Quran. Have you seen someone who takes their empty feelings and turns them into their God? Right? Surah Al-Jathiyah. That's what that is. Such a person, obviously there's no reckoning. There's no concept of I'm being recorded and I'm being watched. I don't want to deal with that. And if somebody wants to hold them responsible, let's say their mother says, hey, I think you need to stop doing that. Or their friend says, hey, I think this is too much. The moment somebody tries to rein such a person in, you know what they do? You can't tell me what to do. I'm my own person. Just let me be. You know what? Mind your own business. Right? Nobody gets to check what I'm doing. And I can run from that conversation. I can avoid it. I can slam the door, walk out. You know what? You are a negative, toxic influence in my life that is trying to bring me down. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing because I just need to get away from this toxicity. And I'm blocking you, mom. Right? Common practice. Because you want to, find your happy place. Right? And this thing is all about not having to face what you've actually done. And the moment you're about to face it, you run off. You run off. What does Allah do on Judgment Day? Hands you the book, and you can't throw it away. It's stuck on your hand. And it's open, and you got to face it. And the first thing is, really, do I have to have this book? Can I not? I lived my entire life avoiding thinking about what I'm doing. I don't want to think about it. I just want to escape my pain by doing things that I'll never have to think about. Let me just forget about what I did yesterday. I just want to get over it. I don't want to think of it. This whole mentality is being encapsulated in just, Ya laytani lam uta kitabiya. Allah could have just said he's going to throw them in hell, and that would have been enough. But no, Allah He gave us a prognosis. He gave us a deep insight into the mind of the people of the left hand, just with this phrase, And this is their lack of will to face their own consequences, the consequences of their deeds. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ